I just want to thank everyone for coming on and joining us today for Lean Bites. My name is Tim Kramer. I am the Director of Emerging Markets here at Lean Techniques. If this is your first time here, welcome. Just as a reminder, Lean Bites are short. They're only 16-minute talks where we'll provide you with some simple, practical tips and techniques you can start applying, hopefully within your organizations today. Real quickly, a couple of housekeeping items. One, if you have any questions throughout today's talk, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll address them either at the end if time allows, or we'll do an email follow-up with you following that. And then two, please do us a huge favor, and there'll be a quick survey that will automatically pop up at the end of the session. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. It's our goal to constantly improve, make these things better. We want them to be valuable to our guests. So with that, let's get started. I'm excited to introduce to you Matt Smith. Matt is our senior UX consultant here at Lean Techniques and coach. So Matt, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kramer. My name's Matt. Kramer just gave me that introduction, so I don't have to say that again. But yeah, thanks for joining. My background a little bit, I started in the traditional design area, kind of moved over into front-end development and have landed on the UX space the last half of my career. I love that space because I love solving problems for users. And I've also kind of branched into helping use my powers to improve delivery on whatever team I'm on as well. So our team members at LT are always striving for improvement ourselves, but team members are always thinking about how we can get better. But we've really worked and focused on how we can coach our delivery teams and any team that we're on to help improve and solve problems, some of the problems that they're experiencing out there. So let's get started. Our rough agenda out there, we're going to talk a little bit about facilitation, and then one of the nice frameworks and solutions that I've used out there, and then talk about some of the gotchas that they have there, and then I have a couple gifts to share. So first thing to touch on and talk about, facilitation is magical. Lots of times teams get stuck out there. People have lots of different opinions. There's different voices, power dynamics happen, and prioritizing is really difficult. So there's a lot of power in getting teams to align on a decision and move forward together. And that's where facilitation comes in. It's helps the team and people collaborate and move forward. And if everybody's involved and a part of the decision-making process, there's a lot more alignment and togetherness that happens there. The other thing about facilitation is it's intimidating at first, but it's a skill. Just like any other skill, it can be learned, and you can put in the reps and you can get better at it over time. I think designing a facilitation session, an effective facilitation session, is one of the most challenging parts of it. There's lots of different techniques out there. It's really hard to get started. And admittedly, I'm an introvert too. So just getting up and talking in front of people like I am right now, I'm going to have to crawl into a hole for a couple hours afterwards and just be away from people. So it's challenging, but one of the reasons that I like this framework is it makes it easier and helps alleviate a lot of the stress that comes with designing a facilitation session. It's a good gateway and entry point into facilitation. So this is called a Lightning Decision Jam. It was put together by a company called AJ and Smart in the UK. It helps, their goal is to help people come together as a team, make decisions, solve problems, and generate ideas. It's flexible. It can be used for really any problem-solving scenario. I'll walk you through one specifically, but there are other sort of use cases that you can use it for too. 8 steps, 1 hour. 1 hour is sometimes optimistic, but yeah, that's their goal behind putting this framework together. What you'll need people, a team. You'll need a problem, whiteboard, markers, stickies, and little dot voting Post-its there too, or dot stickies. So first, starting with a broad challenge. And for the case of this Lean Bites, I'm going to just put a challenge together that people may have working with a remote team. Culture and collaboration with in-person and remote teams is hard. So we're going to go into, the first thing we're going to do is to change that into a how might we statement. How might we statements frame the problem up as a question. It invites brainstorming and exploration of potential solutions. You can see the one on the right there is a little bit easier to kind of come up with answers or solution on than the one on the left. I think it's always hard to kind of rewrite this stuff. I don't have a writer mind. So like using ChatGPT or a solution and type in the thing on the left and say, hey, can you help me reword this into a how might we statement? That's usually like a good way to go too, if you want to do that quickly. So instead of culture and collaboration with in-person and remote teams is hard, we're gonna flip that over into how might we better foster effective culture, collaboration, and teamwork across a distributed workforce. So the first step, sailboat exercise. If you guys have been in the facilitation world, this is a fairly common technique that teams use. The first step there is we're going to talk a little bit about what's working well. So we're going to spend 4 minutes, time box that, talk about what's working well. People are going to put Post-its on the whiteboard, anything that's working well, and start from there. We'll do that silently, put that up one Post-it at a time. This really helps people get warmed up, starts the conversation with some positive vibes. So kind of using it as sort of like an introduction or warm-up session. Some of the things that you might get out of that based on the problem we're trying to solve here is business is going really good. There's a lot of talented people all over the country, a lot of client opportunities out there. So all good stuff. The second thing we're going to do is the bottom part of the sailboat. I probably should have described the sailboat a little bit more. The reason we use the sailboat is because the sail at the top, everything that's working well is pushing that boat along. Everything down below the water is dragging us down or holding us back. So we're going to talk a little bit about all the stuff that's dragging us down and spend 4 minutes doing that too. So just silently putting Post-its on the board. We don't really need to discuss at this point. We're just going to kind of put them all on the board and talk about all the things that are holding us back. So based on the question or how might we statement that we came up with earlier, we're going to say, hey, meetings happen a lot, but they don't really seem to be that effective. We're not able to collaborate across different departments as easily as we were before. And it's hard to meet and talk to people when we're in a bunch of different time zones. Those are some of the questions that you might get to have out of that example there. Step 3, we're going to spend a little bit of time prioritizing those. So as a team, we're going to focus on the stuff that like causes the most irritation out there. Typically, we'll give people 3 little dot stickies, and you can put it on the board on any problem that you feel like is the most irritating to you. And you can put all 3 stickies on any sort of any Post-it that you want there. So if you want to put all 3 on one, that's totally cool. If you see another duplicate out there, like just don't put it on top of another one, kind of group them together. Like you don't have to have a big discussion about it. Just sort of do that. And we're going to spend 3 minutes just voting on the most important problem out there. So if we're for the sake of this discussion, vote on those, like maybe it'll look something like this. We'll have probably like 3 or 4 that are like sort of top of mind. A lot of people voted on. And then some other ones that people don't find to be as irritating. So meetings happen a lot. It seems to be voted on really well, not as much collaboration, a little less. And then we've got 1 vote on the time zone thing. So now we're going to take that problem statement that we had. We're going to pick just for the use case here and to kind of move things along. We're going to pick 1 or 2, probably just 1, and focus on one thing to try to solve as a group. So we're going to pick that top one that has the most Post-its on it and start trying to solution with that. So we're going to reframe that problem, do another how might we statement exercise. So if meetings happen a lot, they don't seem to be effective. Our how might we statement might be, we might get more out of, how might we get more out of meetings and communications within our distributed workforce. So now we've spent some time and we've really like tried to establish one of the core problems that we had there. We had like an overarching problem that was really hard to like define and solution on. So we came together as a team and tried to narrow that down into problems that are kind of more specific and that we can maybe find better and more impactful solutions on. So we're going to spend some time just brainstorming again on the whiteboard. We're going to put a bunch of Post-its down to try to solve for that specific problem that we had out there. So some of the solutions that we had, we're going to spend 6 minutes doing that. Some of the solutions that we may come up with the how might we get more out of meetings is, let's turn on the camera during meetings to see faces and help engagement. Let's consolidate some of our communication platforms. We have too many tools out there. Schedule some online meetups with different departments to foster cross-department communication. We have too many meetings, so let's audit and remove some of the unnecessary ones. We're just going to spend a ton of time. We're looking for like a pile of different ideas, anything out there that we don't want to limit any ideas at this point either. So anything that may even seem crazy, we just want to put out there and get it out of our heads and get it on the whiteboard so we can discuss. Then we're going to spend a couple minutes and do the dot voting exercise. So putting those dot votes based on the one that we feel like are the most concerning, difficult problems. In addition, like if we see any duplicates again, we're just going to kind of put them together and not really have a huge discussion about it. We just want to move along, make sure we're being as efficient as possible. So after that, we were going to take those top sort of problems that are solutions that we've come up with, and we're going to put that on an impact and effort matrix. I think many of you have probably seen this if you've gone through some facilitation sessions. Just to walk you through it a little bit, we've got a scale on the y-axis, a scale on the x-axis, low impact, high impact, and then effort at the bottom, low to high. So things that are low effort, high impact, we want to do now. We don't need to spend a lot of time, discussing or breaking things down anymore. We want to like start tackling that right away. Things on the high effort, high impact, we probably want to make that a project. Like that's probably like really complicated, or maybe there's a lot of different things we want to discuss or break down about that specific problem. So we're going to make that a project and put it on the shelf and talk about it and see how we can break it down a little bit more. Things that are low impact, low effort, we're going to make a task. So we're going to throw that in the backlog. Things that are high effort, low impact, we don't need to do. There's stuff that's going to take a lot of work, and it's not going to really move the needle very much. So those post-its that we came up with before, we're going to put that on the matrix, and as a team, we'll kind of like put the post-its in front of where of that matrix and kind of move them around and do that together until we get them into a place where we all feel good about. So you can see the stuff on the high impact, low effort scale are turn the camera on during virtual meetings. Like we think that can maybe have a good impact, and it's not a ton of effort to do. And then maybe audit the meetings and see if we can remove some unnecessary ones. Some of the other ones may take a little bit more time. So we want to meet again or see how we can break down some of those problems. Maybe there's a lot of people to coordinate. Maybe there's a lot of like other sort of variables in place that we need to figure out. So then we're going to take step 8, the last step here. We're going to take those ones in the top left column, and we're going to pick a solution, set a time frame, and then we're going to run an experiment. So if we take one of those just for the sake of time, and one of those maybe turn on a camera during virtual meetings, we're going to do a 2-week test, and we're going to see if we can turn that camera on, have everybody turn their camera on as possible for that meeting, and then we're going to assess, check in, and maybe during our retro on the 15th, we're going to see whether that is having any impact or whether we want to roll back. So you're taking all that stuff and getting into like an actionable sort of timeline test that you can run. So just to recap, starting with that broad challenge that we had out there, we're gonna brainstorm and really try to define specific problems out there, narrow down to one problem we want to solve, brainstorm a bunch of solutions, put that on a matrix, and test the solution. So just to like recap a little bit, or like talk, I used a team example, but I've also used this as like a tool to help teams decide what to build. So like if you're building if you have done a bunch of research, you have a backlog of sort of like ideas that you may want to accomplish to build, getting the team together and using a framework like this to try to figure that out has been really impactful as well. So yeah, I think there's really any sort of like overarching problem that you may have, you can kind of use this to get to potential solutions as a team. I think that some of the gotchas, it's better with small teams. It's very fast. So some of the bigger problems will take more time. You might have to break down some of that stuff a little bit more, have some of that stuff, have some additional meetings to be able to kind of discuss. I think sometimes it's better to have an outsider facilitate too. Like if your team that's worked together a bunch, like I could see how you could use a tool like this as a retro and do it every once in a while. But it's nice to have somebody from an outside perspective facilitate that. And in addition, like to whoever is like running this meeting, that person needs to be okay with any outcome. If you're a leader and you're going into this meeting and you already know what what you want the team to do, running them through something like this and having them end up with an outcome that you've already sort of predefined is just going to lead toward some animosity, and you just need to be okay with like any potential outcome there. So anybody in the team, I think, if you're running this, like everybody gets a voice, everybody's kind of doing some of that stuff silently and then working together. You can drive toward an outcome together. I think I am almost over time. Yes, for you. AJ and Smart, awesome resource when it comes to like anything facilitation wise. For this specific workshop, if you go to that URL there, there's much more information there. You can also do this remotely, which I think which I've done a bunch of times. It is awesome. This Miro board that I have linked here is really great. It has all the stuff sort of set up for you. The whole team can go in and contribute together, and you can kind of roll left to right in the Miro board and run this as a remote team. In addition, like we love this stuff too. We have a lot of people that are really passionate about facilitation. People on our team have even gone through AJ and Smart's like certification stuff. So reach out to us, like if you want to nerd out about any of this stuff, or if you need somebody to help you run a session and help get a team unstuck, we can really help coach on how to run one of these as well. That's all I've got. Thank you for joining. Our next Lean Bites will be on May 7th. If you go to leantechniques.com/leanbites, you can see the latest and greatest that's happening there. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to talk to me on the socials. And I think Tim's going to wrap up, but I think if you have any questions or anything that came through the chat, I really haven't been observing that, but we'll follow up with you after.